Welcome back to another video. This is going to be the Destro Warlock Guide. We have a buff coming out for destruction specifically tomorrow at the time of recording this, and I figured I would make a basic guide if you guys are interested in dabbling playing some destruction warlock and you have not before, especially in a PvP type context, that hopefully this would help you. Now, there's not a lot of variation on the talents. I'll talk about a couple options really in the 25 row. Most people are running reversed entropy, but you could make a case for shadow burn, especially pairing this with maybe the Havoc conduit, which we'll talk about in a second, and the Conflag legendary, having kind of these instant cast abilities. If you're having a lot of issues getting casts off, shadow burn is definitely an option and definitely viable if you want that playstyle, but most people are running reverse entropy. On the 45 row, I should talk about this. Coil for Destro is very, very, very strong because you can Havoc into Coil, so you can double Coil, which is unique to destruction. So Mortal Coil is just the default all the time here, in my opinion. 45 row, most people are running Roaring Blaze. That's kind of the go-to. You can make a case in situations that Reign of Chaos might be good, and you can also be running Grimoire Sacrifice if you're having issues with your pet dying. For the sake of this video, in this BG, I'm going to go ahead and run Grimoire Sacrifice to show you. There's also something pretty interesting that I haven't seen really anyone talk about, but if you summon your Voidwalker and you run Grimoire Sacrifice, and you sacrifice your Voidwalker, you actually basically get a second HP like Battle Master trinket. Instead of increasing your pet's health, this is going to increase your health by 30% for 20 seconds, and it's on a 2-minute cooldown. It's important to note this is on the Shadow School, but it can be casted while you're stunned, so that's important to know and understand. I am also running the Battle Master trinket, the emblem, and having both of these makes you feel like you just have access to a lot of defensives, you know, on top of Unending Resolve, on top of your Coil heal, all kinds of stuff. You already have, you know, a lot of tankiness if you're running Fleshcraft. I can show you guys here too. If we run Demon Armor, I have my PvP talents on. We have just under 43,000 health normally. You can see if I pop Bulwark and if I pop Battle Masters, I'm at 75k health. Now I'm Necrolord, so this might not be relevant to all you guys. I'm going to get another 5% here from Imeni, because that's the soul conduit or the soulbind that we have right now. But this gives my Fleshcraft an amped shield based off of my current health pool. My shield is 15,000 damage being absorbed from the shield because it's scaling off of 75,000 health. Even when the bonus health of the trinket and bulwark fall off, you still gain an amplification on Fleshcraft's shield. Now, I don't know how viable running Shadow Bulwark is going to be, but I do think that there is some benefit there if you're playing in RBG situations and you're the one getting focused a lot. In arenas, I do think you're going to have to run Fell Hunter and have the access to the kick the vast majority of the time. But I wanted to kind of showcase this in addition to doing this Destro guide because I haven't seen anyone really talk about this too much, and I think it's a pretty kind of cool, unique defensive we have access to that a lot of people are kind of unaware of. Now for this build with Honor Talents, Demon Armor and Focus Chaos are kind of you have to run. Arguably everyone at high rating runs these two. The last one, the third row, you can run Nether Ward, is what most people are running. You can also run Fell Fissure, is a viable option. Arguably, this is going to be better against like melee cleaves or in an RBG setting where people are stacked up because it leaves a spot on the ground. And you can also be running Cremation. If you're running the Conflag Legendary, Cremation is going to have a little bit more viability. I also think Cremation pairs very well with Grimoire Sacrifice just because of the way they deal damage. You kind of are playing around a playstyle that both of them are benefiting from, if that makes sense. I'm going to go ahead and run it this game so that you guys can see kind of the damage. It's not crazy. It does like 6, 7, 100 damage a hit type of a thing. It's not insane, but it is nice. It's some extra bonus damage and pretty consistent and reliable. Now, talking about legendaries, for this BG, I'm going to be running Demonic Synergy. This is a good option, and even if you do run Grimoire Sacrifice, wait, where'd my pet go? It was because I talented out of it. Even if you do run Grimoire Sacrifice, this can still be proccing. So be aware of that. If you run Demonic Synergy, you're not wasting it. If you run sacrifice, so it's okay. You still get the proc, it's just only on yourself and not your pet. Still seems like it's only 3 procs per minute because it's only on you, so not exactly sure, but it's still pretty decent uptime. The other 2 legendaries people run a lot are Madness and Cinders. 99% of high rated players right now are running Cinders. This is going to give you an extra charge on your conflag, and it's going to reduce the recharge time by 3 seconds. Most people are running this because at these early parts of the expansion with lower haste, your shard generation is kind of an issue, and so this helps a lot with that. It gives you just a lot more fluidity with the overall gameplay. And this is also giving you a lot of value without having the contingency for you to be able to free cast. The downside with Madness is really the 3-second timer on this buff. The 3-second timer makes it where you have to be casting 2 consecutive Chaos Bolts, and you really can only fit like 1 global in between those, if that. You really need to be casting them back to back. And what happens is, as a Destruction Warlock, people are in general very aware of your Chaos Bolt cast. That's like the big thing they're trying to avoid you like getting off, is the Chaos Bolt cast. And as we start, I think after this buff, we're going to see a lot more Destruction Warlocks, and people are going to be more and more aware of it. So Madness is very fun. In theory, it's fun to kind of like do these big one-shot type things. However, I think if you're playing against good players, they are going to be able to prevent you from gaining any value from this, because even if you get the first cast off, they're going to be waiting to stop your second cast. Even if it's a DR cheap shot or a DR Stormbolt, all of that's going to be enough disruption to prevent you from gaining any value from this legendary. So with that being said, I think this at surface level sounds fun, but honestly, if they made this like a buff where it was like your next Chaos Bolt but didn't have a timer, or they made this like a 6-second buff and it was consumed on your next, there's ways they could tweak this where I don't think it would be OP, but it would make it more viable. But currently a 3-second window in PvP is just too tight to be able to reliably pull it off a lot and get a lot of continued value from it over the course of a game or a match. It's kind of the consensus of people I've talked to and all of that fun stuff. Everything else is not really worth mentioning. These are just, I mean, Cinders is really what everyone's running in PvE and PvP, and it makes sense. But yeah, hopefully that kind of makes sense on the legendaries. Now, onto the Soulbinds and Conduits. We really have one strong conduit, and that's Ashen Remains. All the other conduits are good, but this is like your big best one because it's the only one really impacting the damage of Chaos Bolt. So you want to basically always make sure you're running a setup with Ashen Remains. However, you can run any of these other conduits if you want. Fatal Decimation has viability because we can basically Havoc Decimating Bolt as Necro, which is kind of unique. So this has kind of double value for, not quite double, but has more value for Necro than probably the other Covenant specific Soulbinds or other Covenant specific conduits have. All these new terms, man, these are so hard to keep straight. But all of these are good in their own way. So if you really like any of these, by all means, go ahead and run them. The one point I want to make is that we really have Ashen Remains is the big one. That's like the main one you want. And since we only have one really strong, impactful conduit, it gives us the ability to pick paths in the Soulbinds to go like double endurance and pick up like the DPS focused trait. Are these called traits? Talent, Soulbind, ability, whatever you want to call these. The Soulbind specific things that you unlock. All of the offensive ones require either endurance or finesse prerequisites. And since you really only have the one potency, you can actually go down and unlock these and not be losing really any damage, and arguably potentially giving you even higher burst because they might scale harder with your Chaos Bolts and your actual burst setups than any of these other potency conduits are. So just keep that in mind depending on what Covenant you are running. I do think running this Hiramir's Arsenal is going to have some viability for Destro. I think this might be hard to line up in PvP because it's only a 10-second buff, but has some viability for sure and is going to be very, very strong scaling with Chaos Bolt. And then I also think Plague Divisor is going to be very good, like I showed you earlier with the Fleshcraft setup, scaling off percent health. I think this is going to be a really cool, unique defensive for destruction as well, giving us percentage health. And if we're able to bump up our HP so massively between the Battle Master trinket and Shadow Bulwark. It's going to be a kind of a pretty unique combination of abilities we're going to be able to kind of synergize together there. So again, for the sake of this, we're running Grimoire Sacrifice. This is the talent setup that we're using, and see if maybe we can get some one shots on some orb carriers. Now, Destruction, regardless of if you want to play it as like a main spec or not, it's very good on this map. So if you are doing RBGs, it's very likely that there are going to be games and maps like this one that you're going to want to play Destruction for, because it's just such good burst and you can just one shot orb carriers. Okay, let's see if we can get... Should we kill this Rep Pally? You think we can kill him without him knowing what happened? Dead. Hodged me. Immolate. Chaos Bolt into Conflag. Don't LOS me. Nice, I got it off. He's dead too. Immolate into Shadow Fury. He's already on stun DR. This guy's running away. He's got a grounding totem. There's the Chaos Bolt. Big damage here. I'm gonna go ahead and Havoc. Why is it not letting me? Havoc on the Windwalker. Oh. So we can actually, like, I can show you here. Oh, he killed the Windwalker already. As I say, we can, the double Havoc with, or the double coil with Havoc is so strong. It's really disruptive to, you know, if you're playing your backline, you have double melee and things like that. Go ahead and Fleshcraft here. Okay, they picked up blue orb. Just gonna mount up and run over there. Let's help these guys out first. Coil. Chaos Bolt into Conflag. He's a little slow on that Reflect because he's still stuck in the coil. I'm actually gonna go ahead and Cataclysm there. I actually don't have enough for... Oh. Nice. They don't have any orbs right now. So I have a Dark Soul back up. I don't think there's really a need to save Dark Soul with Infernal. You definitely can, but I don't think it's really like required at all, because it doesn't have, back in BFA, there was synergy between your Infernal and your Chaos Bolts, where you would basically be able to get a big damage amp, but that doesn't exist. That doesn't exist the same way. Now, ideally, I'd have Immolate up on this target, but we didn't. Okay, cloned. Okay, that was double coil right there. Shadow Fury, Chaos Bolt into Conflag. Of course, I'm gonna go ahead and Health Trinket. I don't have like Healthstone or Coil or anything, so I have to kind of just face tank that right there. There's not a lot I could do. My Healthstone was on cooldown. I think I misclicked it. I don't remember using it intentionally, but so the basic setup, one thing you can also do, specifically for Destro that's pretty impactful and pretty big in the overall playstyle. Shade of Terror is very good because you a lot of times are wanting to set up your fear for your burst goes. You want to basically fear into Chaos Bolt, and then you can fear again into Chaos Bolt, because basically your initial fear will have the target feared, your Chaos Bolt will finish, and the Chaos Bolt will start flying, and you can start casting the next fear immediately, and then by the time your first Chaos Bolt breaks your initial fear, your second fear will land. So there's some unique synergy there. I need to sacrifice this. I also need to cast Demon Armor. I forget, since I don't have that as Demo, I forget about having that ability. Oh, I was a little off on that. I don't know how that went off. I'm pretty sure that guy was around the corner, but I'm not complaining. Okay, I'm gonna coil him. Oh. So I'll show you here if I can get, he's gonna kick me. Yeah, I don't have anything here. I might be dead. Double Windwalker to the face. But yeah, so you can fear into Chaos Bolt, and then you just start casting your fear immediately while the Chaos Bolt is actually traveling, and then by the time it hits, it breaks your initial fear, your second fear will go off. So it's kind of like a pseudo stun lock type situation, to be able to kind of juggle someone without letting them cast anything. So the only thing that will make that problematic is if you have Immolate up, obviously your Immolate dot damage is ticking during that time, and that can break your fear. So for that reason, running Shade of Terror is nice because it makes the likelihood that your fear stays fearing the target in between those Chaos Bolts more and more likely. So here, let me do this. I'll show you guys real quick on the target dummy. So I immolate the target and I can flag, then I get the fear off, and then I can basically Chaos Bolt, and then I can start casting fear again, and it breaks, and my fear is up right after, right? And then I could go into, you know, can flag into coil, into Chaos Bolt, or double Chaos. I mean, there's all kinds of options you can play off that. But that's a very common playstyle, is that you are fearing the kill target in a lot of situations to prevent them from stopping your Chaos Bolt, and you basically just start casting them back to back. So you can go fear, Chaos Bolt, Chaos Bolt, fear, you know, incinerate, or whatever you want to do. So anyways, hopefully that helps and you guys have a basic understanding of how to play Destro and PvP, and try this out after the buffs. Let me know down below if there's anything significant you think I left out, or anything that I misspoke on and maybe said incorrectly. By all means, please correct me down below in the comments. I'm really looking forward to this buff. I think this is going to be a lot of fun and probably a go-to in a lot of RBG settings. And I think it's going to be, it's already doing well, pretty well with certain comps and arenas. And I think this is probably going to make it a little bit more meta and hopefully bring it up to par with Affliction, so that we have a little more diversity in our specs and our options when it comes to rated PvP. So let me know what you guys think. Like always, thanks so much for hanging out. I really do appreciate it, and I will catch you guys in the next one. See ya.